It's finally time that we step foot into the development branch of Way the Hunter, and what better time to do that than for update 1.21, and I think this screen pretty well tells the story. There are some new rare fur variations being added into the game, and again, I should mention this is the development branch, they're not in the live branch just yet, but I think we can fairly safely assume it won't be long. So we're going to go ahead and go with the adventure difficulty here. That is a new thing, you have the difficulty screen before going into the game. And I'm basically going to go ahead and play through the tutorial. I've not been on the dev branch at all before, and we'll get going and start looking for some rares. So fast forward 15 minutes, and we are actually at the very end of the tutorial. We do need to shoot a deer to complete it, and there's a couple of whitetail bucks over here, so if we can just get something lined up on one of them, we'll go ahead and try to take that out. So as for the rares coming with this update, whitetail are of course among them. There are albino whitetail being added, as well as melanistic mule deer. As far as Nez Perce Valley goes, that's it. Over on Transylvania, there's also going to be an albino and a melanistic, albino red deer and melanistic roe deer. So 4 new rare fur variations being added with this next update, and I think 4 of the more popular species. I would love to see something with elk, maybe that'll be in the next one, but definitely encouraging to see that. And we'll, as we kind of move through here, really try to keep our eyes open. I think the albino whitetail would be very obvious. It might be tough in the shadows to spot a melanistic mule deer. Now, a couple of just quick observations from the 20-ish minutes of doing the tutorial and getting this guy, which by the way, I thought that shot was forward, we just barely got into a lung. The game seems to be running a lot smoother, so there's probably some kind of frame rate adjustments that have been done. I really think it's running way better than it was. The other main thing I would say is, maybe it was because of that less than ideal shot, but it really felt like that deer ran a good bit further than we're used to, and we'll have to see what happens when we maybe try to get one of these mule deer. Now, as far as the rares go, is it actually likely that we get a rare today? I don't know. They're naturally meant to be very rare, you would expect, but just how rare are they going to be? And that's something I hope to find out as we go along. If we can encounter, you know, a bunch of herds of whitetail mule deer and don't see a single rare, probably that is a good thing, meaning they'll actually be somewhat valuable. So, in the meantime, what we're going to be trying to do is keep working to get credits and work on our perks or skills, whatever they call them too, just so we're maybe a little more capable of taking down an albino or finding one than we'd be with all the starter equipment. I don't know what that buck's doing, but we'll go ahead and try to get him. He's about 150 out. He almost looks like he was trying to dog a doe or something. He looked like a pointer, the way he was kind of standing in a way. It looked like an intentional animation, I'm just not sure what it was for, but let's go and just kind of see how far he runs. The angle was much better and the shot placement was much better, so let's see if it's even close to what we tracked the whitetail for. And in this case, there wasn't nearly as much tracking involved. It was a double lung shot, so probably the lengthy track was due to a much less than ideal shot. One thing I want to see though, if we go to the inspect screen, and then switch to maybe a view where we can just see what he's doing a bit better, this is about as good as I can do, but there's like an animation of him seeing something and trying to like get a closer look at it. I liked it. It was something I don't remember ever seeing before, but regardless, we'll sell that again, kind of working towards getting some better equipment, and we'll continue forward now. I think we're just going to go basically down through the south here and just look for herds of deer near the water and see if we can find any rare ones. But I mean, imagine this scenario. That's a 4-star mule deer, and we can tell from here he's very gray, and that actually brings up another point, but let's pretend for a moment. We'll even go to whitetail since he looks a lot lighter in color than the rest. Imagine spotting an albino whitetail buck, and it's a 4-star. Do you leave it and hope that it reaches 5? Or do you just take it and make sure that you get it? And then the point that brings up is, will there be signs of aging that you can spot from a distance on the rares? Because I can look at this mule deer buck right now and know he's probably within his last couple of years. And I think for that reason we're going to take him. We'll never know for certain, but you look at every other mule deer around, they're a brownish color. He's a much lighter gray. And that's something that, I think it was the previous update, it started to become a little bit more obvious when those animals were aging. So we'll take them. It's the dev branch, not a big deal if we end up shooting something that would have reached 5 stars. We'll try to, again though, line up a decent shot. I tried to go for heart. Looks like pink blood. I'm gonna say though, probably not a heart shot. Even the 243 I think could bring him down. And I'm going to say this before we go and pick him up this time, because I always make the observation after we get to him. From a distance, we can see that really light gray coloration, obvious signs of aging, but when we walk up there, he is going to look far more brown. For whatever reason, it doesn't show when you get close, and I don't know why, unless that's changed with this update. Moment of truth for that, you know, maybe it did. He does look a lot lighter. We actually got the artery there, that was a lethal hit, and then the lung would have been a lethal hit as well. As for the percentage, 81%, he was never going to get to 5 stars, so actually, good to take him. 390 pounds, because we need the gear, we're going to sell him. I wouldn't mind taxing him. I'd like to kind of throw stuff in this lodge as well, because I don't know how much time we're going to spend on this branch. We may just kind of stay here, but for now, we'll work towards getting the equipment. And as we get further south here, we should start to run into the whitetail, but I don't know, we've probably encountered 40 to 50 deer by now, if not more. No rares just yet, which I do think is a good thing, as bad as I want to find one. As for the mule deer though, because we continue to encounter them, I am going to be intrigued to see what the melanistics look like, because I don't think they're anywhere on the banners for the update. Everything seems to focus on the albino whitetail, and I've got so many scenarios running through my head, whether it is, you know, spotting like a 4-star albino, even spotting a 1-star as a young, and watching it obsessively and making sure that it doesn't end up getting away. And then something like this, you know, 600 yards away. I mean, they're far enough it might be impossible to really tell. But the idea of just seeing that and knowing from that far that it could be a rare, and going all that distance, like sneaking over to get it, I just hope that's something that we could encounter. I'm not so sure it could happen with a melanistic. Maybe it would. I don't know how we did that. But definitely with an albino, if the sun's hitting it right, I think you could know from almost any distance, and especially when we get a better scope, because our binoculars have 8 times zoom. I think the best scope has something like 18 times, and I mean, having this thing just doesn't really help us. The fact remains though, everything we've seen has been a common, and again, I do think that's a good thing. As long as they are properly rare, it's just going to incentivize hunting for them and trying to get them. And I would imagine that the best way to do it is to keep managing your herds. Like, on one hand, it would kind of make sense to just shoot absolutely everything and keep trying to get things to spawn in that may be a rare, but I don't know that that's the case. If you just want any rare, probably, but if you want your rares to maybe have a chance at, you know, being a trophy-sized animal, 4 or 5 stars, you'd want your herds to be in good shape so that that is more likely. I was thinking initially that it may just be a matter of trying to shoot literally everything, but I think it has to kind of be a matter of staying the course and trying to keep your herds in a good spot. It's been interesting, we're not finding a whole lot for whitetails so far, but I think I've got what could be a fairly effective plan to at least get our eyes on some new deer. We're going to go ahead and try to take this 1-star mature. My hope is that he'll be decent weight-wise. That must have been a heart shot or something, because that was a ton of blood. But in getting ourselves to 4,000 credits, we could buy our way into the diamond drill area, which has a ton of deer, both mule deer and whitetail. And given the fact that I'm still not sure how much time we'll actually end up spending on this development branch, I don't think that's a terrible idea. I do want a new scope, but we're doing just fine with this one, and I would like to think going to diamond drill and having access to that many more deer to maybe get, it could be an investment that gets us to that scope. As for the shot, given the amount of blood, I gotta think it was a heart shot. It was indeed heart and left lung. He's not a huge deer, weighs 291 pounds, gets us 263 credits, and then that puts us probably 3 kills shy of getting to 4,000 credits. The other good thing is too, we're going to be close to evening by the time we get there. So resting until the next morning, right around, I would say, mule deer and whitetail drink time, should all kind of balance out just perfectly to go and check that out. So it turns out the requirement to buy the passes is not 4,000 credits, it's 4,500. So that took a little extra long, but we can go ahead and buy the pass to the diamond drill area. And basically it, in order to earn that many credits, had gotten a little bit late. So we're just before the deer drink time. We're going to go ahead and rest forward an hour. And that should put us pretty well into both whitetail and mule deer drink time. And we'll go and give it a look. And so finally, we get to check out some of the deer in this area, and I kind of wonder because, in theory, there would be something to do with genetics when it comes to an animal being albino or melanistic or anything like that. On these private property areas, it's in the encyclopedia, the genetics are better, so I really wonder if there is an increased chance of maybe finding a rare. I kind of hope there's not, but at the same time, that would be a kind of neat little thing. As for this first herd, looking pretty common. I don't even see a very big one, but we'll try to get one of them, and then basically what I want to do to wrap up is go down to that lake in the far southeast that typically has a ton of mule deer, and we'll see if we can get lucky there. As for this herd, though, most of these are all kind of similar. There's a 1-star adult there that's relatively broadside. This is the one place where we've seen the 243 maybe not do quite as well. I think that angle's good enough. Maybe keeping it back a little bit will help as well as for what we can actually hit. That said, it didn't look like it did that well. The blood does look a little dark. Let's see if that could be maybe liver again. I'm gonna say not even that. It is red blood, so all that. At least we got the spot I heard a whitetail, and at least it wasn't an albino we're shooting or anything, but that one's going to get away. But that is all good. The main area I wanted to get to is still just over a mile away. And unfortunately, it would appear as though we've come all this way for one little 1-star adult mule deer buck. I don't know if maybe other ones have already moved off. It is a little late. If we can get the time to update, it's 12:41. The drink time should last till 1 o'clock, so I would like to think they should still be around, but that is the thing with zones in this game, of course. They're not always guaranteed to be there, and that may just be the case today. Now that was something I haven't seen before. Did he call after we shot? He did, and actually now we're getting to see all the mule deer coming down out of there, so it effectively kind of does the same thing. We can watch, I would like to think, in the sunlight. There's a 4-star. Not too bad, but we ought to be able to see if a melanistic were to come out of there. And everything is looking pretty much common. Another 4-star. I mean, there's no denying the genetics down here are just as good as ever. And maybe that's going to be it now. It's interesting they were all way up in there. Except for that one buck. Everything looked to be common, so again, one kind of thing to be gleaned from this is that they certainly appear to be rare. We've seen a lot of deer today. We covered pretty thoroughly this entire area in the center, and then a good bit of some of the better areas in the southeast down here in the Diamond Drill region. So I guess what remains to be seen as for what we do next is whether or not we're going to stay here on the development branch. It kind of depends on the timing of the update that brings this stuff. I mean, still a 75% as a 1-star adult, that's the kind of stuff you see for the mule deer down here in Diamond Drill. But I think if when it's time to record the next Way the Hunter video, the update for this isn't out yet, we'll probably stay here, continue looking for any kind of the new rares. If it is out, we'll probably go back to the main one just so we can continue looking for our 5-star whitetail. But anyway, that is going to do it for this video. So as always, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.